you have a very creative background. Like you have a background within music. You're a solo pianist, and you do piano work, and then also too, yeah, you ventured into making documentary film. And I know that you have an upcoming book that you're finishing or that you're working on as well. And I was just wondering about like how you found that your creative life imbues, or how it incorporates into your Zen practice. How you approach creativity with your Zen background.
Oh, that's very good question. Actually, for me, it is. I mean, the basis is Zen Buddhism. I mean, if I quit all the rest of the things, that's fine. It's not big deal. It's a way of earning my life. You know, it's something that I have to I have to get a job and so on. But the ostinato, that is kind of the basis, is like the bass player in pop music. You know, like the bass is Buddhism for sure. So yes, probably my creative work is influenced by Zen Buddhism, but I don't know in which ways. I mean, for me, I mean, I can quit anything but this. I mean, this is like the basis of my life. This is something that, even though this Zendo, even if it doesn't exist anymore, I will keep practicing for the rest of my life. So it's something that it gets so in touch with myself, and at least as far as I know, with so many practitioners, that I think is something that really touched us all practitioners in some way. That is kind of the basis. At the same time, we shouldn't be so idealistic. So everybody has to have a job, everybody has to do something. But I don't think the creative process, or in my case, in classical music, is better than any other job. So here in the Zendo, my students are different. Some of them are lawyers, some of them are architects, some of them are nurses, and so on. So everything is fine. I mean, at the end, we are people, right? We're human beings. So in a nice way, I would say, being kind of an artist. I wouldn't call myself an artist, but being kind of an artist is not something that goes above Buddhism at all. It's something that is um, complementary, I would say, something like that. But Zen Buddhism, or Buddhism, as I really like to say, is the basis. And right now, animal rights, as you know.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, and well, it's wonderful to hear that that Zen Buddhism is the one thing that you can't quit. I mean, it is such a fundamental part of your life that it's something that should should circumstances change for whatever reason with other commitments that you have, or the space itself of the temple, you will maintain your practice. And is that a feeling that you had from the moment that you picked up Zen Buddhism, or did you find that your sense of commitment to it has deepened over the years, and that this feeling of the strength of that commitment is stronger now after having become ordained, and after having, being a sangha leader and things like that?
Oh, thank you for that question. Actually, at the beginning, I studied in the States at ASU, at Arizona State University, and I did kind of Rinzai Zen at the beginning, but just for a few weeks and so on. So that was my start in Zen Buddhism. That was in 2000, something like that. And of course, I was just trying, as many people does, right? So I think that is completely normal. That's something that everybody. I mean, here in the Zendo, everybody is welcome, since at least when they have a right behavior and so on, right? So even my dog comes sometimes and joins us. Yeah, she is really very welcome to sit with us. But um, yes, of course, I think that until a certain point, I would say, right from the moment I did Shuketokudo, like the monkhood ceremony and so on, that was like more or less like 15 years ago, something like that. My commitment changed in a drastic way. I would say so. I would say so, but I don't think that is something necessary for everybody. I think I have seen many lay people that are extremely committed to the practice of Zazen. So I think that is something quite personal. I think that is something that is a way that maybe you choose it, or maybe it chooses you. It chooses you. But at the end, the main point is, um, what does this practice provides you in a way, not in something of adding something, of what does it show you, right? As you know, in Soto Zen Buddhism, we always say that, you know, for the name of this wonderful podcast is silence for nothing, right? So one of the main this point of shikantaza, right? All just sitting, and mushotoku, that means no goal. So at the end, it's just to contemplate, to see, to watch what it has always been, that it will always be, even after we in the case that we are not here, right? So this kind of commitment, in my case, all in my case, came through that ceremony. But I have seen through the years that many students and many people get committed to it in a very, very, very serious way, not having any kind of ceremony at all. So I guess it depends on the people, but for sure, I'm really, really committed to it. In fact, right now probably we will move from this place, because we are planning to buy another place. But I always say to my students that even if we don't have a place, the Zendo is the world, right? It's the universe. So we can sit in the parks and in at someone's house and so on. So that's something so amazing. I mean, we share that I think, um, we are so privileged for that, right? So you have a practice that always comes with you, and you don't need anything to do that. You can sit on a pillow, you can sit on a rock, you can sit on a cliff, you can do it at anywhere. So we are so privileged to have this wonderful practice in this amazing context that is Buddhism, that I feel so honored. And of course, I feel honored to have a chat with such a great people like you and have my students around. But let me tell you that even if I do it by myself, it will be fine too.
Yeah, and I think that's a wonderful way of looking at it, and just that it makes it so much more accessible. It's like it doesn't have to be at a temple. It doesn't have to be in a certain specific kind of location in relation to other people. It can be something that can be very personal. It can be anywhere. And when it comes to people that you know, like for myself too, you know, I have this like this mental picture of what zazen, what shikantaza should look like. And you know, it should be seated, it should be on a zafu, it should be on a mat, on a cushion, and it needs to be in front of a blank wall and all this kind of stuff. And I have to be kind of mentally prepared with all of these different intentions that I bring to it. Uh, but you're right. Like there's the Zendo that kind of goes beyond. It goes beyond the walls of a temple. It goes all over the world. It goes out into the universe. And what can you say to somebody to help them appreciate that? Where you know they might be at a waiting for a bus or something like that, or they might be at a grocery store, and you know the world that is not swept clean, that is not polished, that is not made aesthetically like to look like a certain thing. Uh, how do you encourage somebody to appreciate the grocery aisle, you know, or the different things that might be a little bit more uh, conventional or something like that that might not fit their picture in their head?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Sometimes I also have difficulties with that, right? All of us we have. So I don't know if you know this wonderful book by Master Mumon, that is Mumonkan, right? Mumonkan is the collection of 48, I'm sorry, koans that they really, it belongs to Rinzai school, right? But sometimes in Zoto, you know that we use those koans and so on. One of my favorite koans is the koans of what is the Buddha nature, and Joshua, I guess he says, shit stick,
Okay.
shit stick, right? So that is so profound, in my opinion. That is so deep. I mean, it's funny at the same time, right? People needs to know that the shit stick was kind of a toilet paper, right, from that era. So one of the main points of that wonderful koan is like, everything has Buddha nature. Everything has Buddha nature. So it is sometimes really difficult because our selves that don't allow us to see that, right? So you grow up with these kinds of karmic conditions like tastes and preferences and feelings and thoughts and so on, and this is always changing, right? But you have this kind of definition of yourself, like I don't like this kind of street, I do like that thing, I do prefer that. So not to drop the preferences, at least as I do twice a day in our practice of zazen. I think if you don't do that, or at least a similar practice in different traditions, life is much more difficult. That's only my experience. You know what I mean? It's like life is much more difficult right now. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm the paramount of I know of balance and so on, but I really surprise myself sometimes when I see this kind of, as you perfectly described, this grocery store that is not perfectly aligned with my expectations, right? So when I see that, I really laugh at myself. I really laugh at myself because it's the character. Kaiten is the character, is the guy that was raised in a place in the north of Spain, and then came to the south, and then he moved to Japan to practice zazen and so on and so on. So I always say, okay, that's fine, that's fine. It's not a big deal, We have gone through that many hours in many years. So when people tells me, I'm sorry, Vincent, if my answer is too long,
No,
but when people ask me about this, and many of them, some of my students, this is just a joke, right? But they always tell me, I'm going on vacation, right? But I always say them that we Buddhists, we are always on vacation of ourselves. So it's so amazing for me, this practice of zazen, that right in the morning and in the evening, we gather together. Well, I cannot gather in the morning, but in the evening, every day we gather together in the evening, except today that we did in the morning. Uh, and we take a rest of ourselves. We have vacations on ourselves. That's so amazing. That is a privilege. As I always say, that's only my experience and my opinion. Of course, I might be wrong. But if people knew how to be alone by themselves in a room like this, in front of a wall, and just let the things go, not blocking them, not pushing them out, not get sticking to it, but to just you know see the whole movie. At the end of the day, it's so funny. It's so funny that we are believing this, right? It's so funny. So, in my opinion, this is a question of practice. I don't know if this is the right answer, but in my experience, this is a question of practice. So, if people expect like this is like a spiritual tourism, it's like if you go for 2 hours to a session or retirement and so on, and you expect that your whole life will change and then you will see the truth and so on. I think this is not real. This is a kind of idealistic supposition, right? I mean, in Soto Buddhism, we understand the practice as a daily basis, right? Something that we always do. It's like Nishijima Roshi, my teacher, that is right there. He always says that this is like kind of a bell, that you play the bell, and right in the moment where the sound is almost extinguished, you play it back again. So you always have this kind of balanced state. You more or less, let's say. I mean, I'm not a perfect person. I mean, I don't know if there's such a perfect person, but I'm not. But at the same time, it's so nice and warm. This kind of feeling of not most of the things that worry me are important. You know what I mean? For example, let me tell you this. I'm a pianist, as you know. I'm a classical music pianist. And I'm so demanding. I'm a perfectionist because I was raised with this, right? But I always say in a funny way that I'm not. as perfectionist as not to try to be perfectionist. That would be like the paramount of perfectionism, right? So uh, the funny thing of this is that I never accepted myself, my perfectionism, until I started started facing the wall, like in a way of, okay, this is how what my skandhas, what my aggregates are, right? This is what they are. This is how I rise. This is my karma, and I have to let it go. So, for example, 2 weeks ago, I recorded, I made a brand new recording, and I didn't like it. My friends are really always making fun of me, since I always say the same, right? But but this is so into me that I always make fun of it. It's like, okay, I know that whenever I make a recording, I will not like it. So that's fine. I say, I get out of myself and I say, okay, Kaiten, this is fine. No big deal. You're a perfectionist. That's fine. No big deal. I'm not trying not to be that. You know what I mean? So right in the moment, and this is only in my experience, right in the moment you start accepting yourself and letting all the characteristics that you think they are fixing to yourself, to let them go, at the end you feel so much relief of yourself, and especially the others feel relief of yourself. You know what I mean? It's like you don't make so much trouble to others, right? That's all in my opinion and my experience. Maybe some people will have another experience. So
Yeah. No, I think, and thank you for offering that. There is something about just like, because I have my own interests in being perfect, and then yeah, I do agree that like to the perfect version of perfect is to not care about being perfect. I agree with that.
yeah,
Uh,
if you try not to be a perfect person, that is the paramount of
yeah,
perfectionism, right?
right, right. It's just like that's the ultimate level. But
That's
then
right.
then there is that thing that you were saying about how when you start to let go uh of your story, there's this sense of relief. And
Mm,
I think that there is something really difficult about that letting go though, right? Because like you're this story that you've had
mm,
all this time and continue to have, like people will still call you by your name, people still refer you as a family member, a friend, you know, whatever, like a neighbor, all that kind of stuff. There's a story that is presented and projected onto you, and also there's this always story that you have going on too. But when you start the individual, when you start to uh, let the attachment to the story kind of fade a little bit, or just get some relief from it, I feel like there is mentally there is a challenge because it feels like you're letting go of everything. It means if you're letting go of everything, then where do your feet land? You know, there's no grounding, and you feel kind of like uh, empty, and it could be a negative sense. Like, how could you encourage somebody to do that letting go? Because I think the ego gets really frazzled when it gets
right.
close to that release.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, we never know how the ego is or self is going to surprise us, right? Right in the corner, it will surprise you. But it's totally normal. Just think about it. You will rise as I was raised in certain families, certain situations, certain circumstances. It's like having, in my opinion, something like having a really tight t-shirt. So you have this kind of tight t-shirt, and at least in my case, what Zazen practice does is to create this space between the skin and the t-shirt, right? So you have a t-shirt, but you are not that t-shirt. But until that moment, you thought you were the t-shirt. So you were speaking and acting as if you were that t-shirt that was covering you. So what really until the day of today, uh, it amazes me is that this kind of practices in different practices of Buddhism, that they don't express, they don't spread that much. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying it's the solution for the whole problematics of the world, but I will say it will help so much. You know what I mean? It's like it helps so much. I mean, people is eager. to find those kind of practices. I'm not speaking only about Zazen. I always understand that there are some kind of, the tantric versions and the Theravadic versions and Vajrayana versions of those practices and so on. But any of them, they are so valuable that, in my opinion, people is always looking for that, but they don't know they are looking for that. They don't know we always practice, and it's okay, psychoanalysis, and we go to therapy and so on and so on. But at the end of the day, you see, like, people is always trying to perfect themselves. You know what I mean? In a development way. But Buddhism, in my opinion, is not about that. It's about acceptance. It's about what I'm really am, what I really am. So maybe with the years, these kind of practices will spread all over the world, and people will see that it is not, as I guess Gandhi was the guy who said that. It was kind of, there's no a path for the peace. The path is the peace, right? So the path, the peace is just sit down with all the things that you reject and all the things that you accept. Let them go, even if they are outside or inside of yourself. That's what I think.
And I believe on the website for your temple, Zendo Gudo, there is a small paragraph describing the posture of zazen, like this the nature of sitting in zazen, and how that is like enough, how that is like a posture that is no matter what the cultural context, no matter what the season, no matter what anything else, this seated posture can be this thing to root yourself down in, and it can be that part of that consistent nature for your practice. And I wanted to kind of like get into the element of zazen that drew you into it, but also too how because I know that you also have an activist part of your life, and you feel like there is or wanted to see if the way that you sit and how you interpret sitting has like a counter narrative to the world kind of humming along as it usually does, with like maybe allowing for more suffering than is necessary, or allowing for people to be taken advantage of more than like, or at all. And I was just wondering like how Zazen and Shinkantaza kind of shapes and works within your role as an activist.
Okay, that's very nice. I don't know if you have read this article I published like 1 year ago in DVA, Dharma Voices for Animals, that is
Mm,
called "Veganism is Not Enough." I don't know if you read it, but it's something I really recommend. Not because I really read it, but because this is a statement about exactly what you're asking for. So I will kind of summarize it. So one of the main points is like compassion is not selective. You cannot select who is the object of your compassion. Compassion, from my point of view or my experience, the two main tools in Buddhism are compassion and prajna, and intuitive wisdom, right? So one is kind of the canon, right? The Avalokiteshvara, right? Is like it's thousands hands and eyes, eyes to see with wisdom and hands to help all sentient beings, right? But sometimes, in my opinion, at least in the animal rights movement that I really I'm an advocate or activist, as you might like to call, sometimes they are kind of this kind of really tight positions. You know what I mean? It's like really tight position. I don't think that helps animals at all. Right from the beginning, we are animals too. So you can choose which kind of animals you are advocating for. And secondly, I don't believe that creating violence through people, we will save animals. And that is something so rooted in these kind of practices. Why? Because, you know, everything is karma. You know what I mean? Everything is karmatic. So this mouse is karma, right? So I'm karma. The animals are karma. This Zendo, this whole is karma too. So the problem of distinguishing who could be, uh, who could deserve, let's say, your compassion is kind of tricky, because at the end of the day, if you take this kind of practice until it's their ultimate consequences, you will see that there are no two. There's no two. So I always say this, but you know that in Spain we got this bullfighting stuff, right? So of course I don't agree with that, but I always say that I really want to save the bull and the bullfighter, both of them. You know what I mean? That is something that many people, many activists don't understand. And that is so important. We don't save animals to go against people. We don't preserve human rights to go against animal. You know, so it is for me so obvious, like these kind of practices. Mm, you know that Dogen that always say drop off body mind, right? To drop off body and mind. So to drop off body and mind, I mean, in my opinion, is that it's like you have to understand that all kind of uh, circumstances and thoughts and feelings and perceptions that you have identified with must be dropped off to see what things are. So at the end of the day, I mean, suffering is not easy to deal with. I myself have difficulties with suffering with animals, right? Because I've so much exposed to torture and to pain and to suffering of the, let's say, mm, the major amount of inhabitants of this world, right? That it is not easy for me to deal with it sometimes. Not in a violent way. But let me tell you this. If I were this kind of really pushy or hard activist, I will not accept my sadness about that. I will just produce anger on other people. You know what I mean? And I don't have anger at all about the people who works in the slaughterhouses and so on. Not at all. It did not rise in myself, not even once. But I feel sorry and I feel sadness and I feel the pain for both sides, for the guys, for the bullfighter and for the bull, for both sides. And I think that, I don't know if I'm answering in a right way your question. That is how this kind of practices allows us to at the end of the day, let's say, put together not only people but animals, peoples, and all kinds of sentient beings.
Certainly. I mean, like there's something very important about the treating the whole situation and having compassion for the whole situation, because I feel like if you're advocating just for the bulls in this situation, and you're turning around and you're shaming or you're being aggressive towards the bullfighters, then they'll become more defensive. They might go into themselves. They might not like feeling shameful,
Definitely.
and so then they'll maybe want to do what they want to do more, or feel like they're
Yeah,
compelled to do more, and be
yeah,
angry
I
at
totally agree.
themselves.
And besides that, we are animals, right? So you are defending animals, so you have to defend all kind of animals. You cannot select which kind of animals are you defending, right?
Right, right. No, so I really do appreciate that, and I feel like just in the well, at least here I am in the United States. There's a lot of division in a political scape, and there's a lot of division maybe globally, that just various countries having some political and social issues right now, like and that's to put it lightly. And there is, I think that your approach just towards appreciating and having compassion for the fullness and the richness of the suffering that's going on is really helpful, just for the sake of like trying to mend something, or to trying to give space for everyone to calm and to allow for some peace to really show up and manifest.
That's
So so
right.
so mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I just say that we will not get peace through violence. That's obvious. This is a really old sentence, but it's true. I mean, creating a brand new enemy does not create peace. So
Right.
that's my opinion, and it's only not in politics and animal rights, but in all kind of areas of the life, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Um, and two, and like just when you talk about the nature of karma, like your computer mouse or yourself or the objects around you and the people around you, they all have this Buddha nature, this deservingness of compassion and awareness. And so yeah, when you're operating your computer, maybe you don't slam your computer mouse down on the table, like, and as you move around your room, you're not stomping, you're kind of just being very mindful of how you are in that space and how the space is with you and various things like that. And I feel like if you were to really move that forward, it's like, well, then what are you what are you putting into your body? Like, are you putting in things that are nourishing, that are uh, maybe cooked and prepared in a way that is uh, in the least amount of made with the most compassion. You know, are you making it? Are you digesting things with the most compassion? And it does seem like it can that approach can lead to a very uh, enriched life when you're experiencing things with that much awareness and care. And have you found that to be the case as you navigate your life with the as an animal rights advocate?
But in which way specifically?
Oh, I mean, just like when you are engaging with the world around you, just like with knowing that things all have this inherent Buddha nature, but when you are maybe cooking for yourself, or maybe when you are taking care of your dog. I was curious about your experience as a pet owner, as a when you're taking care of Murphy. Like, do you feel like there is a change in how, you know, understanding all things having Buddha nature in that sense, like how you interact with the animals around you and the people
Oh,
around
yeah,
you?
definitely. And let me tell you this. I mean, anybody, even though, even if they don't practice Buddhism in any way, I mean, everybody who has a pet, they know they feel and they know they think somehow, and they have their own mm, preferences, and they really like to love, and they don't want to die before their biological time comes, and so on. So of course, I mean, where I mean, this in my experience, I mean, karma is always around, of course, but it is so difficult. I mean, when you practice so many hours, I mean, I've been practicing since, I don't know, 2004, something like that, or maybe earlier. I mean, it's a daily basis. It is impossible not to see this kind of teachings, the Dharma, all over the place. It's like what I really like to see the Dharma as this way. I mean, if Buddhism, let's say, will stop in a way like, I don't know, a nuclear bomb, something like that, and the earth will collapse, I don't know how, Dharma will still exist. So that's one of the main points that people should know. It's like you got the Dharma, and the Dharma goes far beyond Buddhism. Dharma is the truth. Dharma is something that goes far beyond us. It does affect us, of course, but it affects to all kinds of living beings, and even non-living beings are affected by it. So it's like a universal law, right? So how can it be Murphy, for example, affected by that? Of course. And the main point is that if you train to see that in each single thing you do in your life. For example, I'm quite strict. You know, I'm a perfectionist, right? so so I'm kind of a strict guy at the timing of oryoki. You know, the oryoki ceremony is like very, and of course, I'm relaxed with my students and so on. I accept mistakes of everybody, except of myself, right? but but uh, but yeah, it's so important to do things right, to do things in a precise way. That how things are done opens um, the here and now, right? You see the here and now, and once you have been trained in a really diligent way on how uh, each single movement it affects to everybody and even to yourself. not only thinking and speaking, but also and especially acting, you can see karma all over the place. It is not possible to see karma, um, the absence of karma in anywhere. So, of course, I think, I mean, I would like to join this kind of conversation with another Buddhist practitioners in other schools. You know what I mean? Because I don't really have that kind of experience of practicing vipassana or samatha and so on. But for me, in Zazen, it's so clear. It's so obvious, like everything is impermanent, that all these kind of contents are not myself. That's are so clear. And that we always try our best. Even the people that you think are the worst in this world, think about politicians and think about, all kind of people who mistreat animals and kill people and so on. They always think they are doing their best. So probably, I think this is a question of prajna. We have to practice. We have to endurance this kind of hard practice to develop something that it has always been on us. That is compassion and prajna. But when people shows no mercy, for example, when people shows no compassion, in my opinion, this is due to they have, I don't know, um, put something on it. You know what I mean? Because for me, it is so clear that the essence of life is compassion and prajna in all. I mean, and we are so lucky. We're humans, right? We can think about that. We can speak about this. And I'm sorry, English is not my native language, but I try my best. But it is so amazing that I'm connected with you, Vincent, from so far. And this is something that a dog cannot do and a cow cannot do. So we have to value our lives. And since we have this kind of uh, privileged kind of life in a amazing planet that is the Earth, that is exactly at the right distance from the sun and so on and so on, we have to value the life, right? And we have to help people in a compassionate way, because suffering, as you know, is something that is inherent to life. But at the same time, it is inherent to us to help everybody. So, in my opinion, what Zazen and with Zen Buddhist practice allows people is to see life in a very merciful, is that right? Is that merciful way? The, 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 the life of the people, and how can we help to suffering to all sentient beings?
And thank you for being so active in the sense of being joining me here today and sharing this important perspective, but also too, I mean, you're right, like there's just this very encouraging and empowering feeling that you get when you realize how fortunate the circumstances are around our very existence. And yeah, we're in that Goldilocks zone with the sun, where like this is just enough heat and light and different, the water that we have around us, like all these different things, like we've managed to make it. We've managed to make this rock
Amazing, right?
home. And there is a really we were talking about the humor before of life, of our stories. It's like, we can be here looking at birds and all these different creatures that have emerged, and then somebody cuts us off in traffic, and like there's just something hilarious, something, I mean, it's not fun to have that happen. It's not, it's there are people that endanger us, and there are people that hurt us and suffer and make us suffer and things like that. But there's this kind of the bizarre balance that you have to do, where you're appreciating the universe and the magic of how it all works. And then also too, there are these mundane conventional things that happen that seem to kind of like, well, wait a minute, like I didn't realize that I also have to participate in this other kind of social structure world that can seem very incongruent. So but you kind of giving that bigger perspective is really helpful, because it just helps me make me feel like, if that's the case, if we're all in this world together, and we're in this privileged position, then it makes it all that more uh, empowering for me to be able to take care of the things around me, and making me feel like I can make a good impact, and appreciate the things that I have
Oh
around me.
yeah.
And I was wondering about, like, when it comes
But
to
I'm,
the.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Oh
at the
yeah.
same time, this thing of the impact and so on. I think sometimes the impact that we can create in the others is overrated in a way. I mean, just think about your grandfather. I mean, nobody, you don't know anything about him. I mean, in 100 years, nobody will know anything about us. And this is so relaxing. You know what I mean? This is so nice to see that nobody will remember us, Vincent. And that's so good. I mean, I have this kind of conversation with you that is, you are such a sweetheart, and you invite me to your program. And I don't, and specifically when I was doing this kind of interview, I always wear my kesa or my rakusu. But I saw one of your programs, and I say, it would be cool if I don't wear the kesa or the rakusu, because I'm a regular guy. You know what I mean? So at the end of it, why do we think we are so special? You know what I mean? We don't know anything about the world. We don't know anything about the universe. So when we are trying to create an impact, it is nice to hear that when you mean to help others. But sometimes when people say we're trying to create an impact, it means I want to stay in history and create an impact so people can remember me, right? And that's that at least in my opinion and in Buddhist terms, I guess, it makes no sense at all. I mean, it is ridiculous somehow. So sometimes we have to. It is so difficult to measure our words, right? So I totally understand with you when you make when you say to make an impact in a nice way, right? In an impact to as I try um, to improve the conditions of animals all over the world, right? And and people that suffer and you know, homeless people and so on. That's so important to create an impact, but not in a way of the impact that I create just for myself, right? So maybe the consequences are that maybe somebody will know me in 100 years, but I hope not, right? It will be so cool. It will be so nice not to be remembered. Yeah, so probably I will be, I don't know, kind of worms will eat us, and we will be, you know, crawling in the earth and so on. I will be, it will be fine. It will be another experience. So no big deal.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's very inspiring to have you say that, you know, when it will be so nice when I'll be forgotten. Like there's this part of my ego that's like, what? Like, oh no, not
Oh
that.
yeah,
That can't.
let me tell you. I mean, many people knows me as a classical pianist, but there are so many classical pianists much better than myself. I mean, I'm a total liar. I mean, I'm not that good, but life took me to that position, so I took advantage of it. But I'm sure, I'm completely sure, in 100 years nobody will hear my recordings, so it's fine. I'm not that important, and I really enjoy with my partners in crime in classical music do with so much talent than myself that probably they will deserve to to be in history. But I don't have this kind of willing, you know. It's I mean, why? I mean, what we should stay in that kind of, I mean, history. Do you think that animals care about what we call history? You know what I mean? I mean, who cares about that? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we are 7 billion, I guess, 7 billion inhabitants in this world, and there are much more amount of species in this world. So it makes no sense at all to think that we are the center of the world. In my opinion, I mean, I think there are 100,000 million inhabitants in the world in the whole history. I mean, human inhabitants. So you think about the Earth and about the universe, about the galaxy, and so on. It is so ridiculous to think about how people is going to remember me, right? I mean, who cares? I mean, no, it's not a big deal. Just try to do the things as good as you can, and not try not to create problems to others and to solve problems to others and to help and to develop prajna. Sometimes, you know, I don't know if you agree with me, but let me tell you this. Sometimes people, at least some of my students, when they come to the Zendo, they are always trying to develop prajna in a way of supremacy. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to be the Zen master and so on. But in my opinion, that's so ridiculous, because prajna without compassion is knowledge. You know what I mean? It's pure knowledge. So prajna always comes with compassion. And with and compassion, you cannot articulate compassion without wisdom. With so at the end they are the same. But when your ego always is always trying, I have to be, the Zen master, I have to be famous, I have to be remembered in the future, in history of my legacy and my lineage and so on. It makes no sense at all. There are so many good Buddhists all over the world, so many good teachers all over the world, so many good musicians, so many people. I mean, this world is extraordinary. At the same time, there are always happening bad things, right? But if you see it with the right eye, you can see that we are not that important. That is only my opinion. That's only an observation of you. Maybe I go too far with observation.
No, no, no. I know. I think that that's a really wonderful thing. I do think that there's something very important about having that wisdom and compassion, both informing each other, and and too, like, just as far as like that letting go, there is a relief. There is like a freeing element that I'm hearing from you, that when you let go of legacy, when you let go of that kind of impact, where the statuary and then the other things like that, my well, I did this in the world, I did this with my time, and forever this will be written in the history books, that so on and so forth. When you take that expectation away, or when you let that go, then you can really be here, and then you can really
Oh
enjoy and
yeah.
appreciate what's around. And I think the author
And
where I
it's
read.
so easy. It is
Right.
so easy. I mean, because it is easy when you practice it. The problem is that people think too much. You know what I mean? They think too much about these things. So when always come with these kind of stories, I always say, just sit down. Just sit down. I mean, how can I develop this thing? Just sit down. That's all. I mean, it's not that difficult. We are always thinking about, things and think. I really enjoy to think. I'm a classical pianist, so I really have to use my brain to use, my body and so on. But some things they don't need to be thought. It's like it's okay. Things we are not that important. So if you want to let go these kind of things of, as you perfectly say, I want to be reading history books and so on. I want to be remembered, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Just sit down. Just practice letting go. Just practice letting go. And this is not a practice that you cannot take once a year, once a week, or once a month. If you do it, let me tell you this. I mean, I'm not a mystic. I'm not this kind of really spiritual person and so on. If you do it as a daily basis, you will see that I'm not lying. This is so easy. I've seen it with my students for 10 years. This is so easy to see how people get rid of their burdens when they commit to the practice as a daily basis. This is something I always recommend. And even if they don't like Buddhism, that's fine. Just sit down in front of a wall and let all the contents of it, of yourself and outside, just let them down. Just put them down. Just let them go. Just put them away. I mean, they are not so important. And of course, at the end of the day, or right in the moment the bell sounds, all those things will come back again. But the side of it, the gaze of it is totally different. Sometimes I come to the center with some problems, as everybody. I do have problems too. But I don't miss one session, one session of session. So I came out with my worries, with my problems and so on. And then when I leave, I say, oh my gosh, this was so easy. I was so stubborn. I was so obsessed with this stuff. You know what I mean? So please, Kaiten, take a good vacation about yourself. You know what I mean? That's so good, so useful.
Certainly. And there's this, like, just a physical metaphor too, of just, if you're you're holding on to your groceries or something like that. It's like, but because you know that sometime you're going to need food, and so you'll have your groceries, and there's no one that's going to say that groceries aren't important. However, most people when they're walking around don't just carry groceries their entire day. At some point, even when they're sleeping, they're not just like sleeping with their groceries next to them. But
That's right.
but have that time where you put your life down, like you
I
put
totally
that.
agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. In fact, I do this kind of metaphor in my with my students. I always talk about opening a door. So whenever I get out of this conversation, I will open the door of the Zendo, change my clothes, and so on. But I'm not thinking about that right now. So my hand is completely relaxed right now, and it's not thinking about open the door, let's open the door. It's ridiculous. This is how we behave as a daily basis all the time, and it's so exhausting. So people, I don't know in the States, but in Spain they take so many pills for sleeping, anxiety, depression, and so on. And they don't know how to get rid of it. Of course, these kind of societies can create a lot of depression and anxiety. I'm not judging people for that. But at the same time, in my opinion, this can come from anxiety is a question of what is coming, and depression, it might be something of what happened before. So when you set yourself up into the present, those kind of emotions, thinkings, perceptions, and so on vanish into the vast voice. Voice? No, how to say the void. I'm sorry, the void, right? So, yes, that's why I always recommend to these kind of practices.
Certainly, certainly. And I really did appreciate the way that you were describing the door handle. It's like, yeah, like there is this we get anxious if you're thinking about it, will I open that door correctly? Is it the right time to open the door? Oh no, I haven't been listening because I haven't been, because I've just been thinking about
Yeah,
how to prepare for that.
I totally agree with you. And let me tell you this: there are many people that always there are the two positions. The first position is okay. I have to open the door. I have to open the door. I have to do that. So I'm not focusing on my friend Vincent and my conversation with him. But at the same time, there are many people that whenever they get out of their houses, they say, "Did I really close the door? Did I really close the door?" And it is closed. But they didn't figure out, they didn't focus themselves when they closed the door. And this is so easy because it's a question of practice. And that is what, in my opinion, Buddhism does. So people train in paying attention to things and not to pay attention to things that they are not in here. And it is so obvious for me that that could be one of the main problems that we are facing right now in our Western societies
Certainly.
and probably Eastern societies too.
Yeah, certainly, certainly. Um, yeah, no, and I think having that time, and like it really is a wonderful encouragement that you're giving, is like just have times throughout your day where you really do and sit and you do something that's good for nothing, right? That you sit
Right.
and that you are taking that break to let things go. And I think you're right. Like there is this. It's not to say your problems will go away, but them as being ongoing burdens, you'll get just a break from it, and you can have more breath and you can have more
Yeah,
recovery.
I totally agree. And let me add something else. It's like people don't know is what to do. Many of the, I mean, of course, at the beginning when you practice in the Zendo or a temple or wherever, you always have expectations. You come because of something. That's obvious. That's normal. It's natural. But when you keep practicing for the years and the years and the years, and you just do it as you brush your teeth, you know. So you brush your teeth, and when you were a baby, your mother just told you just brush your teeth, and you did it. Right in the middle, they told you to brush your teeth because you can have these kind of infections in your mouth and so on and so on. And at the end of it, you just brush your teeth and you don't answer, and it's something that you do it for nothing. So I always say that even if this practice is useful just for nothing, many of the people, I would say 99.99% of the population, have never done something for anything. You know what I mean? It's so amazing that people can, if you feel bad, you come to the Zendo. If you feel right, you come to the Zendo. If you know, it doesn't matter the situation you're facing in your life. So it is for nothing. I mean, you don't have any kind of profit at all. And it's so amazing to do something for nothing. That's a feeling that I've experienced, and it's so fulfilling because we always do the action for something, So once you start doing at least this practice for nothing, all the amazement shows up, all the mystery, all the wonders of the world show up. But that is something that needs, in my opinion, patience and diligence.
In order to keep that showing up on a daily basis, to keep that commitment to do nothing, and
Right.
to go into that unknown.
Get bored. Get bored.
Right. Oh man, no.
Yeah, that's
I,
right. That's right.
it's really hard. It's so hard.
Yeah,
So
because we are trying to do the opposite thing.
oh
We
yeah,
are trying to fill the blanks.
right. Right. No, we can't that we call boredom like dull moments, or just like things that are not spicy and full of life, when in fact you can have some very enriching moments, just really relaxing.
That's
uh
right.
and then, so I just had two more questions for you. One of them has to do with promotion, and then the other one has to do with advice. But I wanted to see if there's anything that you would like to promote. So I know that you have Zendo Gudo, which can be reached at zendogudo.es, where you have information about events, donations, operating hours, and times for practice. There's also you work with Dharma Voices for Animals, which is dharmavoicesforanimals.org, where you can learn more about the initiatives that are happening there around animal rights, and within a Buddhist and Dharmic context. And then also, I know that you have an upcoming, or you're finishing a book. So if there's anything you want to talk about there, I would love to hear about it.
Oh yeah. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm not up to promotion. This is the worst thing of when I release a CD or a book or something like that. I really hate promotion. It's something because it feels so not me. I'm not being. I'm not trying to be humble. It's like uh, I'm not a superstar, so it's ridiculous sometimes. I really enjoy these kind of conversations that they are kind of relaxed and so on. But yes, I mean, right now I'm finishing one book that is about animal rights. I'm sorry. It's called All Sentient Beings, Brief Pledge to Animals from a Buddhist point of view, something like that. And it's almost done. I mean, I think it will be released in 4 or 5 months. And then I have another book of conversations with Christian priest, a friend of mine. Gustav Eriksson is an amazing priest. He's also a Zen practitioner. He got Dharma transmission from also my teacher, Gudo Nishijima, and he's in Umeå, place in Sweden. And he came like in April, something like that, to record 3 4 days of conversations about animal rights. He's vegan too, and also about how to implant peace in the world, suffering, the difference between Christianity and Buddhism, and the points in common, and so on. And this is another book that we're working in. It's a work in progress that will take a little bit longer. But yes, I mean, I have nothing to promote right now. I mean, all those things are finished. I just finished recording another CD, but all of them will be released probably in 2000, let's say 27 and 26,
Mm, mm,
maybe
mm.
both of them. But I will be very pleased. I don't know if you understand Spanish, but I would really love you to have a copy. I will send it for you
Oh,
for sure.
please. No, I would love that. I would love that. I'm working on my Spanish, but no, unfortunately, unfortunately, I'm just I just have this version of English that I have. But this is it's a wonderful thing that you have going on. You have so many creative elements going on with your music, but also too, I mean, these upcoming book projects sound really fantastic, and many congratulations to you with this book that you've been working on for some time, that has to do with your the Buddhist approach to animal rights. That
Oh, yeah.
hopefully, I'm looking forward to that in 4 to 5 months. That's really really wonderful. And then my other question was, do you have any advice for somebody who is walking the Buddhist path that you would have wanted to have heard when you were first starting to walk it yourself?
Hmm. Very good question. I will say take your time. Take your time because most of the people, I mean, they don't take their time. They think they are going to sit properly from the beginning. You know what I mean? It's like, and the first thing that they have to discover maybe is that they have a body, because nobody, it's so tough to understand that you have a body in a way. I guess Godo Sawaki, my teacher's teacher, used to say, we see with our butts, we don't see with our spirits, and so on, right? So it's a funny quote, but yeah, I mean, people don't have enough patience to, get into the mood of these kind of practices, because we have this kind of world right now that it goes so fast with the AI and internet and so on, that we don't take the time. In fact, there are many people who see the movies in accelerated. You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell are you guys doing, right? You're wasting your time, losing all the nuances and all the details of the movies. But we are so accelerated right now in the society that I always say, please take your time. I mean, I would say, if you find the commitment to a group that you really enjoy, that you really think they are nice people, that you could be there for a reasonable amount of time, just take your time, be patient, because most of the amazing things that could happen and you could understand will not happen until many years later. And people don't have this kind of view. They always, it's like a kid that goes to karate and they want to switch the black belt right into the moment, right? But in Buddhism, we are not in a rush. We are not in a hurry at all. I mean, one of my students have, two of my students, in fact, they are 60, and they are so committed to this practice that I'm really emotional, I feel, about that, and so honored for that, because they really understand that this is not a question of having a hurry. It's like they're not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm almost going to die. No, no, it's okay. I mean, who cares? Who cares? I mean, just practice every day. Have the patience of it. We have this guy Joshua in Zen tradition, that I thought he got Dharma transmission when he was 60 something or 70 something. I don't remember, but he really started when he was kind of old, right? So I always, my advice would be, please see the sanghas all over the world, all over your place, all over your location. And if you find something that is valuable, just take your time. Just listen with open eyes. I've translated this book, the Gakudo Jojinshu, is a book by Dogen. And he said, like, when you go to the teacher, please drop all the uh, concepts that you have, like this kind of koan, no, of the guy who has this kind of full cup of tea, and he said, until you empty it, no tea could get into the cup of tea. So you have to empty yourself. So to be open is one of the main characteristics, and the second thing is to be diligent and have patience. I've seen the problems right now with the patients, because people want things right away. You know what I mean? And this is a long-term way, in a way that it will follow you the rest of your life. So why are you so in a hurry? You know what I mean? It is something that I will not quit. So, and my zazen from 25 years ago until now have no change. I still have the same bullshit in my brain, and so why are you in such a rush? You know what I mean? So all the contents of your brain will arise again and again and again, and your feelings and your memories and so on. And this is always going to happen. So why are you such in a hurry, right? So I will recommend, like, take your time. Take your time. Maybe you should take at least 1 year in a sangha, and then you should say, okay, this is not convenient for me, and that's fine. I mean, I'm, for example, not the kind of teacher for everybody. I always understand that. I always say to my students, I'm not the kind of teacher who could teach everybody. And that's why, fortunately, every teacher is different, right? So I think that's very good. That's very good. We always try to find the teachers that we feel we can fit with their karmas, with their personalities, with their way of seeing life, right? But I would recommend to just commit, have patience, and even though it might sound contradictory, have fun. I mean, Buddhism is a community of friends, overall. I mean, this is at least is what I always invite many teachers from abroad. They have come from Israel, from United States, from Sweden, and so on, from Japan too, and Ireland. And I always, they always amazed, like the environment of the Sangha. They say, you guys are a bunch of friends. And I say, that's one of the best things that you could say about this Sangha. It's very important to enjoy the practice of sassaning community. It's very important to have this community and to enjoy in a really healthy way, in a way of uh, not in a competition way, but it's something like, it's good to hang out together. It's good to have some meals together, and it's good to know at a certain point people's life and how they deal with the problems, and you can share, and friendship is a very important thing, I guess. And in the sanghas, there are sometimes so much distance, and I think this is not the nice way of articulate the sangha, since this is like the bottom of a river, all these kind of small rocks, right? They have been polished between themselves, right? So it's so good to be polished by someone else and to polish someone else, right? So I think it's a nice way. I mean, I really enjoy Buddhism. I think it's the most important thing that I have in my life. It's a treasure. And let me finish with this. I mean, I think when we always speak about the three treasures, people think about them in a narrow way. Sometimes I think what I've been talking about the Sangha, what Sangha means for me. I mean, Sangha means the whole universe. I mean, animals mean this mouse, mean the bells, mean the safus, mean everything, right? And Buddha means not only Sakyamuni Buddha or the enlightened people that in our lineages have been enlightened and so on, but the principal condition of every single being in this universe. Dharma is the universal law. So it is not only the Buddhist teachings, right? So I think we must open the meanings of these words, of these three treasures somehow. That's only my opinion, but I always say, because I don't really enjoy to think that this Sangha is only the bunch of freaks and people that always, sit down and share this kind of koans stories and shobogenzo, and you know, I think that the Sangha goes far beyond that. Far
Certainly.
beyond that.
Certainly. Venerable Kaiten, thank you so much for speaking with me. This is such a wonderful
Thank you very much.
conversation, and I really do enjoy just what you were saying before about Sangha being, but this group of friends. I mean, I think that there is something about when you show up. Like I've been to different Zen centers, um, mostly like in North America, mostly in the Bay Area, the California, San Francisco Bay Area, and I might be in a room with a bunch of strangers, but there is just something about being in the room with just some uh, shared interests, and shared lifestyle components of it. Not to say that everyone's the same, but like we're we found ourselves gravitating towards a certain path, and it can be very meaningful. So I appreciate that. And then another thing you said that I really am I find a lot of relief in myself. It was just, you've been doing this for 20 years, you've been sitting zazen, and you haven't seen any change in your zazen. You still have to deal with the same issues that come up in your
Oh
mind.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, oh well, there's something very freeing about that, where it's like, okay, well then I could really do this for good for
Yeah, why?
nothing.
I mean, what we should be a perfect Buddhist? That is something ridiculous. There's no such a thing as a perfect Buddhist, you know. So we are perfect as we are. That's one of the main points. So we have to respect and accept ourselves as we are. You will not get rid of all your things and your memoirs and your traumas and so on. That's not impossible. That's not possible. I'm sorry. So, yes, something I really enjoy what you say is that to share the circumstances with the people in the Sangha. But one thing that people understand with the pass of the time is the most intimate thing that someone can share with someone else is silence. That is so intimate. I mean, that is to share the silence with another human beings and with my dogs when she comes is so fulfilling and so intimate that in my case makes this practice completely meaningful.
Certainly. And and it's wonderful to hear that Murphy can attend and participate in that and share in it. And you're right, there is this. I could go to a Zen center really kind of anywhere and share that silence. It's like a universal language. It's a universal connection conduit for that. So I certainly appreciate that. Well, thank
Definitely.
you so much again for speaking with me today, and for sharing your time, and for sharing your perspectives and your story. It's been such a wonderful treat to speak with you.